You ready, Jimbo?
I'm ready, always.
Old stories like long-lost friends, rodeos and late-night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Wenda Johnson Cowboy Museum, located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's Cody over here, and as always, I have my co-host with me, Mr. Rodeo Historian himself, Jimbo Snively. Good afternoon, Jimbo, and who do we got today?
Hey, Cody boy, it's just another great day in Osage, man. And Cody, you know, we're getting close. Big National Finals Rodeo coming up here in just a few days. And believe it or not, we got the number 3 ranked barrel racer in the world, Pawhuska's own Wenda Johnson, here with us. We thank her for taking her time. I know she's busy this time of year getting ready, but she's come by tonight, and we're going to talk about the finals coming up and what it takes to get ready for the finals and what just the daily routine is out there and all that, and find out all that kind of stuff. So, Wenda, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Thank you, Jimbo, and thank you, Cody. I'm excited to be here and love to be a part of what's right here in Osage County and Pawhuska, and I'm excited to go represent at the NFR.
Well, we're proud for you to represent us, because you wouldn't believe the people, the barrel racing fans you've made around here. It's crazy. People that I don't think ever watched the barrel racing before. My dad, one of them, and he'll call, like in the winter rodeos, he'll call and say, "What day is Wenda going to run?" And I said, "Well, I have to check the day sheet." All the time, everybody wants to know when Wenda's going to run. It's just crazy.
Which isn't that often, really. How many rodeos you go to this year, Wenda?
So I went to 31 this year, and on the lower side, we are required to go to 25 to be eligible to even compete at the NFR. So I try to look at that 25 mark and stick around that if possible.
Right. Well, some of the girls went to like 80 or 90,
Yeah. There's.
How many are you allowed to count?
100. So.
Well,
I know it's different in some of the roping events. It's only 75 as far as I understand. So, which only, that's still a lot. But yeah, if I can manage that and keep that on the low side, then I do.
I'm curious, how do you get ready for the final? How do you practice? I mean, like your horses aren't here. So how do you get ready for the finals?
Well, I'm in a unique situation, and because I have rode young horses and I've developed these horses, from the young age, I approach it completely different. Look, I approach each run as a development run because I am preparing them for the next run. So I'm looking at how can I take this arena this day and help build that horse's confidence so that they can go in there and be strong during a run. And essentially now I have always thought that, but Mac is 9 years old now. I'm pretty confident he's a finished, seasoned horse now. I've done enough confidence building runs on him, and he's just done unbelievably well for me this year. He, broke the arena record at Fort Worth twice, won the title, which meant a lot, and So with him, I've almost been able to transition a little bit and kind of just enjoy it and trust him and know he knows his job and let him go fly. And that's where he shines. And the second horse that I'll be taking is a 6-year-old horse that I did use last year. I mean, he was a 5-year-old at the finals. I want to go on him. He really did thrive and enjoy the environment. And I was blown away with how well he took it and how much he got better and better and better. I ran him 6 goes, and his warm-up got better outside. He got better in the alley every day. So to me, I look at as he progressed and went through each of those goes. I mean, he'd never been in any of those little indoor pens. he handled it really well, and it was a good experience for him. And now I see the result of that. Have taken him to some other pins, and he's confident and ready to go make a run. So essentially, the biggest thing that I really just focus on is making sure they're in shape. They're smart. They know their essential job, but they do need to be in shape and kind of ready to go. So I'm fortunate enough that the guy that kind of trained him and patterned him, who's down in Fort Worth, is continuing to do that for me, and it works out great. So he keeps him rode at home, keeps him exercise, keeps him in shape. He doesn't really school him on the barrels. He might kind of cruise him through a little more for exercise, but other than that, we make sure they're in shape.
What do you have to do?
So, I think the mental aspect of competition is probably one of the most important things, that, obviously controlling the nerves and, focusing on what you need to get done. So that, I've learned to master the nerves a long time ago. Their nerves aren't something I have to worry about. To me, I'm going in, I'm making a run, and I'm turning 3 barrels at that arena. So I almost listen to more what the horse needs at the time. I mean, I don't let the crowd or the environment influence how I'm going to compete and do my job. But yet at the same time, it still takes a lot of focus. I need to make sure my body position is in the correct position, or, if something happens, a slip or something that we have to make a change, then we do that at a split second. Everything is so quick. The timing has to be so impeccable, essentially. You've got a little room for error, but when you get to this level, your timing really has to be amazing, and that comes with mental focus. And so I think that's really one of the most important things in preparation. And so even now, like kind of getting that tunnel vision of what do I need to do and preparing, and even when I'm walking down the street or turning a corner, I'm starting to think and focus on, okay, if I'm on my horse, where would their feet need to be so that I have the room I need to make, that I need to get around those barrels in Thomas and Mack.
What's the atmosphere like as a contestant coming in there? Did they make you ride in the grand entry, or I don't?
Yeah, so we are required to ride in the grand entry, and so I would say all 15 of us barrel racers have an additional horse, because not one of us is going to go ride our competition horse. Not to say we couldn't. I think you could, but I'll be honest, it's a little dangerous actually, and I would be worried about actually getting my horse hurt. It's pretty tight, so that alley is so tight, and we come in 2x2 and go out 2x2, and we're clipping along, especially coming out, that it's pretty easy to get bumped around. And so I really, even if I had the choice, and if I had a good enough, level-headed enough horse, which I probably could ride one of my own, but I wouldn't do it just because it's not worth getting them hurt. So we are required to ride in the grand entry. So I bring along a third horse. I've got a really level-headed, solid big horse. So shouldn't get bumped around too much, hopefully. And so that is, there's a lot of those factors. Our schedule can be quite busy. So, I keep my horses off site. Because they give us one stall on site, which I'm going to have 3 horses. There's no way I can keep all 3 on site. There's a few people that'll be able to. So if all 15, we have 15 barrel racing stalls essentially. So if most of us stay off site, there's a few girls that are able to stay on site, but not many, just because they don't have the stalling for us. And anyway, so
you got a busy schedule.
It's busy. So when we stay off site, we're required to come 3 hours before, and it's, if you don't, then you get stuck, the traffic, and there's issues, but they want to make sure that we are all there and the horses are all there and that type of thing. So it is quite busy. It's a pretty detailed plan, and this starts at first thing in the morning with our practice. Our earliest practices are at 6 a.m. So, we can have some pretty long days, 6 a.m. morning practice, and that means, you're saddled, ready, warmed up at 6 a.m. So by the time you load your horse off-site, get over there, get saddled, warmed up, it can be some early mornings. We have scheduled signings through the days and different things, sometimes some sponsor appearances and that type of thing. So it can be pretty packed up, and I know a lot of people don't see or don't know about some of the behind the scenes, but it takes, I have a schedule, it's written down. My friend that helps me in the alley, she's amazing, but she's a great time management as well, and she keeps things on track, which I need at that point in time. It's really essential to stay on track, and I think that comes along with the focus part, so that you are prepared and ready. Your horse is prepared and ready to go make that run when it's time.
Where do you stay out there?
So they provide a host hotel for us that we have an option of staying. I use that for family members. It's because it's a really nice thing that they do provide that for us. But one drawback is the truck doesn't fit in the garage of the hotel. Mm-hmm. So where do you park for, the hotel? So that is one reason that last year I actually just rented a house, and I rented a house right close to where I have the horses kept. And it worked out really well. I was able to still utilize the host hotel, which they appreciate as well. And, but yet be close to my horses, and, you just drive right up to the house, you go walk in, and in the hotels, you go park clear out in the garage, then you walk all the way up, and it's a lot of extra legwork. And if you got to do that twice in a day, that adds up. And so versus being able to just pull right up to a house, you walk right in, go grab what you need, whatever. So I really enjoyed having the house last year, and did the same thing. And then it's, have plenty of room for my kids. My husband's coming, and, my kids, and then my friend stays with me that helps me in the alley.
She's got an entourage with her.
Well, people of that magnitude, they need an entourage.
If they ain't give her the penthouse suite, she needs a big old house over there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it really does take a team. You really need, there's times like I have certain appearances, so I need, somebody's got to feed at a certain time. And, it really does take a team. Fortunately, this year, Luis, the one that trains him, he's going to be out there as well, so he can exercise the second horse. I'm not competing on that night. Even something as simple as that frees up my time to do other things or required tasks or whatever. So that's takes a team. It really does.
I'm curious, when you do work your horses in the morning, or what does that consist of?
So it depends on what they need. In general, usually I just exercise them. Mm-hmm. And so they do give us the practice. So we actually can go work the barrels on the stakes. I'll utilize that. The biggest thing is just making sure we're getting to our spots. There's really not a ton of time. I have 2 horses. In general, last year I would say I got to take each horse through twice. So it's not a lot of time in that hour time that all 15 girls are kind of cruising through or trotting through or walking through. We get about 4 turns, essentially, 4, maybe 5. So I utilize the practices. We get them every other morning. I think I went to all but one. And, that's a feel thing on what the horses need. If they need it, we go, or if they don't and they need the rest, then they get the morning off.
How do you decide what horse you're going to ride?
It's they're both very, very good. Both kind of go around winning horses. The younger horses has probably a little bit more explosive speed and a little more expression, and then the older horse Mac, he kind of grows into his runs. So if I can make a few practice runs on him, he'll just get stronger and stronger and stronger. So like last year, even though I caught a barrel to win it, I ran a 13.4 on him. I would have won the go and slightly caught a barrel. But his first run was, I think, 13.9 or something. I was a higher higher time, and he'll just get faster and faster. But he needs a few runs to do that, so that's something I incorporate if I can't get some practice runs in on him. And the young horse he's good. He's kind of ready to go at all times. He wants to be good and loves the competitive side of things. So, it can be a hard choice sometimes. I did utilize him this summer almost as one horse. I picked and chose, this pin would be good for this horse and, this one for that. Like Nampa, I ended up second overall, and I used them both to get second place overall and in the average. So they're both amazing and talented horses, and we'll just kind of go see how they're feeling and see who's ready for the day.
How many other girls do you think that are on your level that has a backup horse that is on your backup horse's level?
I'm pretty fortunate that I have two standout horses. I think you're right, Cody. On most of these gals have one just amazing horse. I mean, we're all mounted. Mm-hmm. All of us have some great horses. But it is hard getting a second horse as a backup horse, and I don't even like calling either one of them a backup horse, because neither of them, if I needed to use either of them themselves the whole 10 days, they both could do it. And I'm really grateful and in a fortunate situation that's a possibility. But that is.
That's pretty huge if you're having trouble with
absolutely.
One. There's something they're not liking about that arena or anything. Jump on the other one. Jimbo thought they were one horse. He knew they were two horses, but he said,
I can't tell them apart. One goes to the left barrel first and the other goes to the right, but I don't know which one's which.
Right.
They're just nice bay horses.
That's got to make you feel good, especially coming into this national finals, after this national finals. I mean, having two of the best horses on the road.
That's got to give you confidence,
It's got to give you the best confidence going into this stuff there is.
Absolutely. And, last year I was looking at, as I had a 5-year-old, to try to run him all 10 days, I didn't think was going to be the right thing for him. And it was nice to be able to split that up. And this year it's nice to know, honestly, if I needed him all 10 days, I could use him all 10 days. If I needed Mac all 10 days, I could use either of them. So that is a reassuring thing. And at this point, making sure that they're in shape, happy, and ready to go make some runs, and we'll go to the horse races and go see how it goes.
What kind of saddles you riding?
So I use it's a Circle Y saddle. It's Martha Josie's the one that kind of has her own line within Circle Y, and it's built. So I was raised using a saddle that has a real flat seat. I ride fairly forward. I stay kind of forward. That's how I was raised. It's hard for me to almost sit up and stay back, and so it's just really similar to how I was raised. And then the stirrups are hung forward just a little bit. So it's her ultimate saddle is what it's called. And it's, her barrel racing ultimate saddle. And it kind of works for me. I've really enjoyed using it and keeps me pretty quiet. And I know that last time we talked about, because I have ridden so much bareback, and I just try to stay in the middle of these horses as much as possible. But if I lose a stirrup, which isn't very often, it's not that big of a deal for me. But I think it was San Antonio 2 years ago, I guess during one of those runs, I dropped a stirrup and made a turn without a stirrup. And my husband told me later, he was like, I was watching and, oh, I saw you lost that stirrup. I got so worried. And he said, oh, wait a second, she'll be fine, And so, I just try to stay in the middle of them. And now with these saddles, the way they're built, these barrel saddles, heck, they kind of cuddle you in right nice and tight. And I feel like it's really easy to ride. If I dropped my stirrups and had to ride without stirrups, I could do it with no problem, because it's a really, it's fairly tight. I have probably a smaller seat than I probably really need, and I just stay right in the middle of them and go make some runs.
Has the equipment changed much over the years?
I do think it does change. I think it usually changes for the better quality, better craftsmanship, and it's getting better. And the thing is there's so many different ways to do it. So what works for me might not work for somebody else. Somebody wants to stay back a little bit more and in a different position, then they're going to need a different saddle, which there are saddles that are built for that. So I think it's great that we have such a huge selection of, tack and things to help us be successful. But I do think it's getting better and better, and kind of makes it fun.
Do you wear spurs when you run barrels?
I don't. I did for a little bit on Mac, but they really don't need it, and I really don't want to pop them with a spur on the wrong time. And these horses give me so much, and they run hard on their own. I rarely spank on them or whip them or ask for that. I might kind of spank them through the line or ask for just that little extra step, but no, they don't need it, and they listen enough that if I need to make a correction, I can do it without using spurs.
When I was a kid, everybody had a bat in their mouth.
Yeah.
And then you don't see that anymore. Is there a reason for that? I mean, did they outlaw it or?
No, I think it's just a style thing. Hey, I've been known to, hold a bat in my mouth a time or two. I haven't for a long time. Now I just utilize an over and under. Some of those gals, I think they really transitioned to almost like a court, where it's at
you see
on
that.
the wrist, and it's just right there. There's probably, really, when you're thinking about being as aerodynamic as possible, a court or an over and under, just you're kind of lower, that arm's lower, versus a bat, you're picking your arm up, coming here, and I think with a bat you're almost twisting your body too, so that might be part of why it's kind of phased out.
Yeah.
Do you try to cut weight or anything?
No.
Like during the national finals?
No.
I was just wondering.
I eat.
Oh yeah, it's how you're in
lot.
Vegas, the best place to eat in the whole world. It'd be tough to be trying to cut weight out there.
Yeah, no, I've never. I'm genetically blessed. I'm so grateful. I've kind of maintained my weight, and that's never been an issue for me. And there's no doubt that surely the lighter we are, the better. But I don't. Luckily, I've just been very blessed. But I need food, and I need good protein, so I have to eat good protein, and I like some carbs, and so I eat and I eat.
What's your favorite place to eat in Vegas when you were out there last year?
Well, let's see. I went to a couple really nice steakhouses. It's always good to have a good steak. We splurged a little, had some lobster and some crab. Oh yeah, we ate good. My friend and I, we're that's one thing that we kind of spoil ourselves and eat really, really well. And I think it's a big part of being competitive and making sure your body has the fuel it needs to have the energy. So I don't do well if I don't eat. I get my brain doesn't work, and I'll fatigue easier. So I keep a certain level of protein in my body.
When you're on the road during the summer, do you try to eat good when you're on the road too? Or
it's a little tougher. Yeah, if you're traveling and time, you have to look at all those things. In general, if I can grab a good meal, I love to eat. I'll yes, please. I'll go eat a good meal any chance I get, and if not, then I kind of just I have protein bars and stuff, and my big thing is protein. So.
Speaking of the summer, I thought you were going to win Calgary the last 2 years.
Oh.
I mean,
It's so close.
I was already figuring out where Cody's going to put one of those bombs.
It was still really proud of how those geldings worked. They were solid. I mean, I was consistent, utilized both horses. I mean, I ran essentially 17 twos the whole time. Mac came up, ran that 17-1, but boy, the girls just laid it on the last semifinals and the last round, and the horses just turned it on, and we just got bumped out.
I just knew you were going to win.
I thought she was too. Everyone was already counting her chickens around here.
I know.
Well,
Wenda done won Calgary, it looks like, is what we all thought.
Right,
she had won every round.
They're not going to beat her, I've heard people say.
Well, and you know what, and it goes to show that the race is really, you have to approach each day as a new race, essentially. And if we get a little too far ahead of ourselves, or look, if I override or anything, it's that does affect my performance. So I really do have to focus on, I don't look at the whole end of things. I say, what am I doing today? What do I need to work on? What do we got to do today? So, like Calgary, Mac made the fastest run. Mo ran 3.2s, and then Mac came and ran a 17.1. So I chose Mac to come to the semifinals, and I ran a 17.2. But boy, I got outrun with that 17.2. They were smoking runs, and that's horse racing, and that's how it goes. And they still did very well for me in Canada. Canada was a big part of my winnings for the season.
41,000 is what I wrote down. From Canada last year.
I think between Pinoca and made a little, we made the Canadian run. I jumped in with another barrel racer, Donna K. Rule, and her horse Valor, who's unbelievably talented, and what a special horse. And we made that little loop. It was fun. Had a great time, and there's some great people that we met, and enjoyed the competition up there. So.
You going back next year?
Well, let's hope. So I'll either have to end up top 6 this year, or you have to be top 4 at the current year to be invited. So I should know by the end of December what I need to do.
Yeah, right.
She's going to be in there, no problem, Jimbo.
She's going to get one of those bronzes.
Oh, I love the bronzes. They are very, very beautiful.
There's always a couple things at the finals that does surprise me on the barrel racing end of it. It seemed like there was a girl I watched last year. She had like a 3-foot fringe coming off of the back of her shirt, and this is a racing event. It just seems like the more aerodynamic, the more weight you can cut off your horse or your equipment or anything, the faster they can possibly run that pattern. Are you going to be wearing some 3-foot fringe this year?
If it was up to my mom, yeah, I would.
It looks really good.
Sure, it
but
looks
I'm just
great.
wondering if it slows them down a little bit. It may or may not.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if somebody actually truly did a study to say, is this air drag, and is it going to slow you down a little bit, or is the weight going to slow you down? I mean, I think we all fluctuate in weight just a little bit, and we're all still pretty competitive. I think we have a little bit of a window, but in the barrel racing, because men can compete, there are some men that can flat make some great runs too. So the weight, I really don't worry about it too much, because I've seen 180-pound men go outrun some of these same horses. So I think it really is more important to have the horsepower, and obviously there is some benefit to having less weight, but I'm not going to sacrifice my health for that. So
no, I was just talking about the wind drag on some of that fringe gets pretty wild.
Oh yeah. Well, even on the breast collars, have you seen them on the breast collars? And it's it is kind of flapping.
It's got to have some air drag on it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking the fringe. I like watching it. I like seeing it. I like seeing all that for sure, Jimbo and Wenda. But I wonder if it cost them hundreds of seconds. I don't know.
Yeah,
it could.
I think potentially some extra drag could. I mean, that's one reason I don't use it, and it's beautiful. It looks great when they're shiny and pretty, and heck, I don't even have contras on my breast collar, and I like it, but I'm pretty plain, and I like it as basic as possible, and now these barrel saddles are fairly light, so I don't know how much mine weighs, probably 23 pounds, something like that. But they are pretty darn light.
How early do you guys got to get out there to the NFR?
Our first practice is the Tuesday before on the 29th.
Okay.
So, I think most of the girls at the latest would be in there, would be Monday. And it's not like we're required to be there for that, but we are required to be at the welcome ceremony Tuesday night, the 29th. So that's the back number ceremony. That'll be at the South Point. And, so I would say most people are kind of getting out there by the tail end of the weekend, if not by Monday.
What's the atmosphere at the buckle ceremony there at night after the performance?
I will say, and it's interesting for me, because I stay win, lose, or draw, the same but in general, I'm always around those horses, so I try to stay as level as possible around those horses, and let them know when they've done a good job, which is every time, because they try hard every time. But it was kind of an interesting setting to, the horses are done, they're put away, and then you go off-site to another place, and the energy is really, really positive and uplifting and exciting, and kind of a fun night. It's definitely something to strive for and be a part of, because it's enjoyable. And then your whole crew's there, all your family, your friends, and it's just, the energy is really amazing.
Well, we're going to be out that first Thursday night, so we're planning on you winning that.
Okay.
Go around. We're going to go up there with you, me and Lauren. So.
Well, I have a good draw. I'm, third out, so I'm going to be a little better on the ground. And
when do they draw? I mean, do they do it every time, or does it rotate, or how does that work?
It rotates. Okay. So we start in draw order. So our first place gal, Jordan Briggs, will be first, and then second place, third place. So the day one will be 1st through 15th. And then I'll be, the second night, I'll be top of the ground. Okay. So it's they move us 2 spots every
So they
night.
only draw once, and then you just rotate after that.
Yep.
Well, getting back to Calgary, I noticed those girls, when they'd come out of the arena, they would grab a number or something from somebody. What's that?
So they were drug testing the horses.
Oh.
So if you got a green chip, you were good to go, and if you got a red one, your horse was getting drug tested.
Okay, see, I thought that had something to do with the draw. I didn't know what they were doing. Okay.
It was the only place that drug tested.
I thought all rodeo horses had a little bit of drugs in them here and there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Luckily, I'm pretty fortunate, and on these geldings, I haven't had to do much, but they're pretty young too. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't run them a lot, and I've been able to get by without having to supplement them too much. So, but yeah, they drug tested at Calgary, and very particular about it.
How much difference does the draw make out there in Vegas? Just a whole lot, because you see girls sometimes run last and win the round.
Sure. In general, there probably is a disadvantage the deeper you are on the ground. I think it does help. Look at last year, they hand drug for the first time, and a hand drug versus an actual tractor drag there is a difference, but at least something's better than nothing. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And there was still some decent runs deep on the ground. But there's no doubt, in general, being top of the ground is an advantage. The only time I don't like to be top of the ground is on a facility that hasn't had any events there in a while, and the ground either hasn't been ripped or something, and you got a hard pack or something, and can hit a slick spot and then go down. So, but obviously we practice enough, and the ground will be worked and stuff. I felt like the ground was good through the practices, and I thought it was pretty decent. I mean, we were smoking some runs last year. Some of those nights, I think the last hole was like a 6 or something. I mean, 13-6. I mean,
it seems like the last hole's what was winning it here a few years ago. So yeah. I'm just wondering if they've done something to the ground to make it a lot better, or the horse is just getting that much better every single year.
Well, I think it's a combination. I from what I understand, the tractor guy is a very seasoned, experienced tractor guy, and I think he did the best job he could with the ground he had. I think the ground's old. I think the ground's been there for 50 years. It's the same ground, so they pull in and out. But I thought he did a very good job. But I do think the horsepower is improving and getting just better and better.
Have you ever paid attention to the old times, like at the early national finals? Has the times improved, say, as much as like in the calf rope, and they went from 13s to 7s,
Oh, absolutely.
Is it that much big a difference in the barrel racing too? Or?
Absolutely. They were just like on Facebook, they've been showing some old runs, and I think it was Angie Metters ran a horse in 93, and she won it with a 14:26. I mean.
It was rare for an under 14 run until just the last few years, really. Yeah. Maybe 10 years at the most.
Yeah, remember how exciting, I'm sure, just like in the calf rope, and when you just break that next, barrier of like, oh, wow, that was this much faster. Mm-hmm. And when they started running 13s, how excited everybody was. And now it's, if you're running a 14, you're not pulling a check.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 hours that you got from the time you have to be there in the grand entry to the time you run, what do you do in Vegas?
Yeah, and it's 3 hours.
3 hours then. I'm just talking from between the time the grand entry starts to the time you run that night. Yeah.
You know, I go spend time with the horses, really. So finish up the grand entry, might grab a little food at hospitality. I keep on eating all day, but and then kind of just get back there, make sure everything's done, check on the horses, make sure they're ready to go, and it just depends. You know, every day was like a little different. I really kind of, you just look what needs to be addressed, and you kind of have to adjust. It wasn't exactly the same every night. Sometimes I had to do this or that, you know, and last year before the grand entry, so I'd get there 3 p.m. and then, you know, had to be ready for the grand entry at whatever time it was, 6:30 or something. That was my time to ride the second horse. So I'd go ahead and exercise the second horse, and, you know, so it just depends. And there's always something to do, essentially. But if I do have any downtime, it doesn't seem like much at the NFR. Seems like there's always something going, or we're required to this or that. So if I find some downtime, then I try to take that downtime.
$30,000 go-arounds out there. Can you afford to try to safety up and just stay in the average, or are you going just for the go-around every time? So, you know, I think there's a lot of different approaches that you could do. I think that's what Jordan did last year. She made sure she got to her spots, got around them, and, you know, it definitely paid off for her. And she pulled a go-round win by, I think, the 8th or 9th round, or both. I do think it's, for me at least, it's probably more important to just go get to my spots. Look, these horses are fast. I mean, they're, even on the barrels, I would have placed every round that I caught a barrel. And then I placed every round except for the one I slipped in. And they're, you know, I mean, they're fast. So I don't, you know, I know as long as I get around them, they're going to place at least, if not win goes. I mean, they're that talented and they're that good. And so I got to trust in the fact that they know their job. And it's my responsibility to go get them to their spots. And this is a tight pen. You know, you are running into solid walls, and horses start to anticipate that. And so really just make sure, get to those spots, get around them.
You know what amazes me?
What?
These horses now, Jimbo, they're just as popular as the jockeys.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone knows their name. Hey, there's sister, you know, and this and that. And does any of them sell any plushes of their horses on their fan pages?
I don't know if they do. I know.
What's wrong with these Cowboys, Jimbo? They got to get on board.
I know.
You need to be selling some Mac and Mo plushes on your fan page, at least for your fans.
Yeah. Well, I know that Breyer has done a few different barrel horses.
Scamper.
Yep. But plushes, that's a great idea.
I don't know why. Why aren't they doing it? I've been wondering why these Cowboys ain't selling their own T-shirts and stuff, you know.
Well, you know,
some of the big famous ones, you know, like the NASCAR guys do.
Absolutely. Well, and this year, the PRCA, through their site, they're actually selling custom shirts that actually have the back number and the contestant's name, so anybody can.
Oh, it's coming then. It's coming.
Yeah, they're working on it. Yeah,
so 50 years late on the deal, but
maybe they've been listening to our podcast, because you've been harping on this for a long time.
I've been harping on the bull riders. But the barrel racers, that's, you know, they sell plushes all these PBR bulls. Why aren't we selling plushes all these famous barrel horses?
It's a good idea.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, Jimbo. We need to get it going.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing I have to add to the whole deal. We need you to win the world championship, come back home to Pawhuska, have the parade, put your name on the sign, and then get plushes of your horses. That's all we need from you in the next few weeks.
I like your thought process here. And I don't know if you're aware, but the horses were just sold and purchased by another group, High Point Performance Horses. And you know, it's exciting. It was a nice transition and kind of win-win for everybody. And you know, the horses are still living at the previous owner's house, which is nice, because Luis, the barn manager, is still exercising him. So it's working, and the
They
new
don't even know
owners,
they got sold in, do they?
well, I don't think so. I mean, and the thing is, it's the new owners respect where we're at. They said, we love what you're doing. You just go to the big ones, have some success at the big ones. You're not running their legs off. What you guys are doing is working. So I feel like now we're really going to be able to just take off and go hit some big rodeos and go make some runs.
Wenda's going to make this company the biggest name in barrel horses.
Probably.
For sure, Jimbo.
This year, probably.
Yeah, the best move they ever made was buying them horses to get Wenda in on the deal.
Well, I'm excited to be a part of that team, and I think I can. I think together we can really accomplish a lot, and I'm really looking forward to it. And both these horses are just at an amazing spot. They love their job, and they love to go. And you know what? Both of them love the performances. Max got the older horse. He's gotten to the point where a slack, he kind of almost like a practice in an expo. He kind of just cruises through real soft and well, boy, he sees that crowd and he perks up, boy. At Houston, so I took them both to Houston this year, and I started out on Mo, mainly because of the ground. The ground's hard. It's got some rocks in it. It packs real hard, and Mac has some, he doesn't have a real deep sole on his feet, and so I didn't want to run him. I wanted to kind of protect him a little bit, and Mo didn't even handle it too. It got him a little foot sore, and he is a tough-footed horse. So I made the couple runs on the young horse, and he got a little sore-footed, so I had to pull Mac out. And boy, him going up, he saw that arena, and he just perked up, and he was just ready, and he smoked a run for me the first round, which got me into the semifinals. But the ground, I mean, they can only do what they can do. His runs got worse and worse and worse, which has never happened with Mac, but the ground kind of caught up to him. So if I go back, I'm going to have to approach that a little bit different, which obviously I'm planning on going back, I guess. So, but I'm going to have to protect their souls so that they can go out and do their job in that pen.
You said you don't get nervous anymore. I wish you'd tell me how to do that. I get more nervous watching you run than when I roped. I'll guarantee I do.
Well, we want her to do so good, so bad.
And when you hit a barrel out there in Vegas, it just makes me sick, Okay, you had a good finals last year. I mean, you placed in like 5 rounds or something. I felt like you left a lot of money on the table too, because you hit you had a go around, you were going to win, or
catching barrels. It cost you a lot of money, and especially like these horses. Like I said, they would have pulled checks every go,
every time.
So it's almost more important. But we're talking about such minute adjustments or movements, and barely catching them. And I know that when you're horse racing, that's how it's going to go. But these horses do have the ability to go get around them. So this year, that's my goal: go get around them.
Yep.
And I just worked him at a pen a few weeks ago. That was a mock NFR race, so they set it up, same pattern, same little whatever alley and stuff, and they worked really, really good. I made 6 clean runs, and they would have all been pulling checks with them. So I'm pretty pleased at where they're at. I'm looking forward to it, and so this year, get to our spots, right? Get around them.
Right.
What year is this? Is this third year?
Third year.
Third time's a charm.
Third
time's a charm. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Be rooting for Wenda this year. I know we will be. Jimbo, you got anything else for Wenda
just
today?
thank her for coming in, and we're just so proud of her. She makes Pahuska so proud. And like I said, she just made all these new barrel racing fans, and these old men and stuff, that would have never been caught dead watching a barrel racing. They just can't wait to watch Wenda run, and it's just a great deal, and we're just going to be pulling for her so hard.
Thank you so much. And
for sure.
Looking forward to it and excited to represent Pahuska.
Good luck to Tyler Milligan, too. We got a calf roper in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pahuska's really representing at the NFR this year. We had a steer roper, calf roper, barrel racer, and we were going to ask you about one other person. A
girl down at Skytook I don't know. Who is she?
Yeah, Leslie. So I don't know how long she's been in Skytook. I believe her husband's from Skytook, but I've gotten to know her this year. Yeah. We actually met in last January, and interestingly enough, her horse had just come off an injury, and I think a pretty bad injury to his hoof. And but pretty nice. And we were at a barrel race right before Odessa, got to meet her. She, we're neighbors, and introduced herself, and she said, "Hey, if you need a horse for Houston, man, my horse, he does great on that trashy ground." And I said, "Well, why would I use him?" I said, "You get to Houston, you can do it." So I said, "Go win Odessa." I think Odessa was a qualifier for Houston. So I said, "Go win it tomorrow, and go run at Houston. You can do it." And it's amazing. So it's been great because we've kept in pretty close contact this whole season, and a lot of places we really didn't run at the same places, but she went to Cheyenne, which I didn't go to this year, and she did really well. She ended up second there, and she texted me and let me know, and I'm like, "See, you can do it." And she's got a great horse, and so she was just down at the mock barrel race, and you did great down there. So it'll be exciting. Really, Oklahoma. There's 4 of us. We almost had 5. The one gal got bumped out the last week, so we would have had 5 barrel racers from Oklahoma, but there's 4 of us from Oklahoma and ready to go represent.
We're going to be pulling for all those Okie girls.
Especially Wenda, too. Especially Wenda, though.
Yep.
I hope them other ones, I wish them a lot of luck.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth.
Yeah, right.
But Wenda, she's going to be taking it home for everybody. We're so excited for you, Wenda. We wish you all the luck in the world.
Well, I appreciate all the support. It's been amazing, and I'm really grateful for just everything, the positive vibes and the nice compliments that everybody gives, and I'm really grateful.
What is it? Is it December 1st through?
The 10th.
The 10th. December 1st through the 10th. Everybody tune in and cheer on our favorite people from Pawhuska, Tyler and Wenda. It's going to be great. All right, Wenda, thank you for coming in. We know you're busy. She had to work all night at the hospital last night, Jimbo.
I know it.
Then she went to church, and then came here. Now she's got to go back to the hospital.
I'm surprised she's still working.
Yeah.
I haven't been working much, so I didn't work all summer. I was off playing, running barrels. So they were just shorthanded and needed some help, and so I was able to step in.
You can work when Mac and Mo get old, and you have to start working.
Yeah. But
All
thank
right,
you, guys.
You guys have a safe trip out there, and we wish you a lot of good luck.
Absolutely. Thank
Bring
you,
home
guys.
the money. That's what they used to tell us
Okay.
at Jimbo.
Show me the money.
Yeah, that's what the Jerry Maguire said.
Yeah.
It's about like Jerry Maguire. She has a team as big as
I know it.
Hey, that team.
any of those professional
team's
athletes off of
important.
there.
It really is.
It really is. I can see how she needs every one of them, too.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and it's exciting, and here we go. We know the routine. Let's
You're ready to rock and roll now.
This ain't her first trip.
Nope.
So, all right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Be sure and wish Wenda good luck, everybody. See y'all.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.